by the Poptimist, and today we have Logan Hatcher. He has returned to the show. Logan, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me back. Glad to be here.
Dude, what's been going on in your world? I know you're always busy, always working. The phone never stops ringing for you.
Nothing really new, man. Just been a lot of gigging, a lot of sessions, and a lot of travel. Matter of fact, tomorrow I'm going out to play in Kansas City for the weekend. I was in Vegas 2 weeks ago, did a wedding in D.C. I was actually in the Middle East, which is a really fun story that...
We talked about this, but
yeah.
Talk a little bit more about it. Fill people in what you did.
Yeah, I went and played a gig on an undisclosed military base in Jordan that doesn't exist. They lost all our bags at JFK. Had to reconfigure my baseboard for the guitar player to use. Didn't have any of the gear we needed. The generator stopped working 37 minutes into our gig. A guy died on the flight on the way back. Like, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning and walk through the entire trip.
So, first flight is from Nashville to JFK. The plan is, it's like, I want to say a little over 12 hours gate to gate from Nashville to Jordan, play the gig the next day, and then fly back that following morning. Should have been easy. First flight, we land in JFK, transfer over Royal Jordanian. 12 hours on that flight, just sleep, watch movies, do whatever. Then we get to the airport, and we're waiting for about 30 minutes for our bags, and we can't find anything. So at that point, Foxy, the guitar player, pulls up his GPS, and he's like, yeah, my AirTag says that my Kemper is still in JFK. So at that point, we realize all of our bags are in JFK. We talked to them. We're like, hey, look, we're doing a turn and burn, so we're not going to be able... Don't even bother sending our bags overseas because they're going to get here, and we're already going to be on the way home.
And then it's going to take 3 weeks to get everything back.
Yeah, so we just said, just send them back to Nashville from New York. We'll get them when we get back. Get to the base. We end up, having to borrow clothes from service members and go to they have a thrift shop on base that was just like donated stuff that you leave behind before you come back off deployment. So that was all our clothes, and we just had to figure it out. And then they were like, so all the gear that you guys requested, we were unable to get. So we show up to this gig, and it's like on a gravel lot, and this maybe $150 brand new Walmart drum set and 2 pawn shop 15-watt amps for bass and guitar.
Oh, shit.
And Corbin looks at the bass amp. I'm like, bro, he goes, how many watts is that? I'm like, 15. He goes, I can fart louder than that thing. And but we made it happen. That we had a very small PA, just 2 15s on sticks, no sub. Luckily, I carried my pedal board on instead of checking it. So, I'm a nerd, and I've got way too big of a board for a bass player, but I've got, drives and delay and stuff like that on there. So, reconfigure all the EQ and settings so that Tyler could use it. It actually sounded really good. And then I just raw dogged it, went front of house, and probably 20 minutes in to the gig, everything shuts off. And they're running this generator for power for us. So they go back and they fix it. It takes 2 or 3 minutes, kick it back on. Shuts down again. And they're like, okay, so this is what's going on with the generator. We don't have the parts we need to fix it, so we're going to have to put it in contingency mode for you guys to finish the show. And me being prior service and having used these generators, I was like, so what that means is all the fail-safes are taken out. So if there's too much pressure in a generator in one spot or something is going wrong in the signal, it'll shut itself off before it causes any damage. In this case, they turned them all off. They were like, yeah, you guys have 7 minutes before the generator burns up. Play as much as you can.
Damn.
Yeah.
What was the last song you played? Were you playing covers or originals?
Mix of both.
Okay.
But we ended with Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit because we thought it was fitting.
Hell yeah.
Then, finish up, pack up. We have a couple drinks with all the airmen out there. Because it was joint task force. It was Army, Air Force, American, and then it was French, Jordanian. Was it French? Might have been, but for sure Jordanian and German military as well. So just hung out, partied with all them. Got up by like 6 o'clock that next morning, headed to the airport, and I've never had so much trouble leaving a country. Like, we got our instruments swabbed and put through scanners 6 different times. Like, we would went through customs, then, you know, your traditional security where, you know, take off your shoes and everything like that, go through. And then, like, 600 feet later, wanted to take our instruments out again and swab everything. We're like, we've done this twice already. Had to do it 6 times at the airport. It was ridiculous.
Why do you think that they were doing that?
I'm really not sure. I mean, to be honest with you, yeah, we are Americans coming from a military base. Like,
so they were giving you a little bit of hard time, you think, for that?
Yeah, I mean, I would have expected that on the way into the country, but on the way out seemed kind of strange.
It's like we're leaving.
Yeah, we're trying to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. But that was kind of interesting. And then 8 hours into our flight, we are over the Atlantic, and this guy starts having a heart attack. And at that point, they were like, we might have to make emergency landing in Greenland. But then within a few minutes, he was dead, which was like, unfortunately, I'm pretty desensitized to that stuff, but there were some other people on the plane, especially Caitlin. Like, she had a really hard time with it. And, yeah, they just put him in the back of the plane, like Weekend at Bernie's, his ass, buckled him up.
What was the mood like on the plane after that happened? Was it immediate energy suck, like we're on a plane with a dead guy right now?
Well, I mean, to be fair, those big international flights, they're like 9 rows of seats. And a lot of people are sleeping too. Obviously, they wanted to keep it as low key as possible. They don't want to drag a ton of attention to this guy having a heart attack on the plane, which makes sense. But I am glad that they kept him on the plane, because I've had friends who have had family members die overseas, and dealing with customs to try and get a body back home is a nightmare. So I was glad that they were able to keep him on the flight, and hopefully his, you know, by the time that we got back to the airport, his family was there. But yeah, it was an interesting trip, and then it took another 2 weeks for us to get our bags back, because of course we told them not to send them to Jordan. What did they do?
They sent him to Jordan.
Sent him to Jordan. Yeah, so that was an interesting trip. Definitely a lot of stories.
Well, just something like that. I mean, I feel like you have to know how to, and we were talking about this kind of before the show started, but going with the flow a little bit.
Yeah.
And just being like, okay, this is the ride that we're on right now.
Yeah, it's like, I'm one of those people, I'm never going to sit there and complain and be like, oh, well, we don't have what we need. I'm like, well, this is the situation, so how do we get it done?
Reality on reality terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My old staff sergeant, he used to call me asshole.
Why?
He meant it in the best way possible. He says, I call you asshole because you make shit happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I look at things, man.
Well, I think that is a testament to kind of one of the many reasons why you work so much in town, too.
Just figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like, could you have done... How long have you been playing down on Broadway for now?
7 years down on Broadway.
Okay. Like, before you started playing down on Broadway, or let's actually say like a year in, you probably would have handled that entire situation, or maybe not. Would you have handled it differently? Or have you had enough experience now of playing down there that you've kind of learned the chaos of the moment?
I mean, I probably would have handled that situation the same way, just because to me that wasn't like, none of the problems were going on were musical problems. It was all logistical. But I mean, to caveat on that, like, there are times where I'll be on a gig and, like, let's say a song, this happened to me last Saturday, like a song got called, the guitar player didn't really know the sig licks, and I was like, oh, I know the signature guitar part. So to me, it's like, okay, flip, pog on, high octave, little bit of gain, cover the guitar part for the intro, and then go back. And you have to be able to do that sometimes.
Would you have been able to do something like that 6 months or a year in?
No, absolutely not. So, like, that's just something you kind of gain from experience.
Okay. That's fair. Well, so you play this gig in Jordan. I imagine you have hundreds of other examples of similar gigs like that. It's like once you see something enough times, you start to recognize patterns a little bit.
Right.
What are some of the patterns that you've noticed as both like an individual person as yourself and as a musician of playing down on Broadway? Like, what have you learned about yourself these past 7 years?
Time management, for sure, is a big one. And that's like drastically different from being prior service too, because in the military, it's like, I mean, there's a whole lot I could get into about this, but it's, you don't make any decisions. Every movement of your day is dictated by somebody else, and you probably have somebody higher ranking than you making sure it gets done. When you're an independent musician, no one's knocking on my door and telling me that, like, okay, I need to put this list of songs together, I need to practice them, and I need to get ready, and I need to go through my calendar and make sure I'm not missing anything, make sure I'm at bus call on time. It's like you have to manage that all yourself. Some people are really bad about it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect about it. I have double booked myself or had some lines get crossed plenty of times. It happens, but like you have to be really diligent about keeping up on your schedule. That's a whole job by itself.
So just making sure that you don't commit to a rehearsal and a gig on the same night.
Yeah.
Just shit like that. And then when you have that rehearsal, if you have to learn 20, 30 new songs, you have them learned for whatever that gig is going to be.
Right. And a lot of it is kind of also like when you get a big workload like that, there's been times where someone has sent me information for a gig. I might have been free that day, but then you pop open my calendar and it's like, okay, cool. The gig is 2 weeks out, but 13 out of those days I'm playing 8 to 12 hours a day. It's like, when do I have time to learn this original set? So even though I might be free on that day, it's like I don't have the time to devote to hammer it out the way that I want to be able to perform those songs live. So then you have to weigh out. It's like, okay, yes, am I free? But am I available to really internalize these songs and do a good job?
Be diligent about whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could, like, if I really wanted to, if the gig paid well enough and it was really worth it, you could, play all day long and then go home and practice just as much and sleep for an hour or two. But you got to be paying me a lot of money to do that.
When do you know when to say no?
When really, if the workload is just, it's too much for me. If I'm just, already neck deep and I really can't afford to take on it anymore for my own just like mental and physical health. Or the most important thing is, Leland Sklar has talked about this, and I'm sure you know who he is.
Yeah.
He's like
famous session bassist.
The session OG. It's money hanging music. I got to have 2 of the 3. If the money's good and the people are good, I'll play some songs I don't really care for. If the money sucks, but I'm playing with my friends and the music's really good, I'll do it. But the moment that I've only got one of those things, like even if they're my friends, I'm not going to play shitty songs with my friends for free. That's a waste of time. So it's just has to be a combination of bare minimum 2 out of 3 of those things. Sometimes you get all 3. Awesome. Those
doesn't happen every day.
Doesn't happen every day. But yeah, that's my rule of thumb for sure.
The other thing that I feel like, we've talked about in the past is you've mentioned that when you're starting out, you really just have to say yes to everything and see what's out there. Is there a time where you should say no in the beginning?
Absolutely. So say yes when you're available and it's within your capability. If someone tries to call you for something that you're available for and it's outside your wheelhouse and you're going to show up and not do a good job, do not say yes. You're asking for trouble. It's way better to say, I'm not the right guy for this job, and pass it along and say, I would love to. And even if you're not right for it, go check it out if you're free. go watch the show, go watch the gig.
Because you could gain something.
Gain something from it, and then like build that reputation with that person. There was plenty of people that in my first 6 months to a year, I said, hey, I'm really not ready for this, and I kept in touch with them, and I play with them all the time now. But just stay connected.
Well, that sounds like you really had your ego outside of it, you know, like you weren't, because I feel like people make the mistake of they come into town and they come in on a blaze of glory almost.
They do. And a lot of people, you know, you move from your smaller hometown where there's 5 guitar players and you're the guy in your town, and then you come here and suddenly you realize you're not as good as everybody else.
There's always a bigger fish.
Always a bigger fish.
Especially in Nashville.
And so it's, you really have to, like, you get checked really quick of realizing that I'm not as good as I thought I was, or maybe like that particular skill set is different, not needed, or not even up to par of what's in Nashville. Because there's so many really great like A-list musicians who you could name dozens of bands. If you try to throw them downtown and just started calling songs, they'd be like, I don't know this. It's a different animal. I mean, you think about, you know, famous guys and bands. I mean, look at AC/DC. They were just here last night. Angus Young is one of the like most prolific guitar players in the world. He knows AC/DC songs.
Yeah. He couldn't play a 4-hour shift down on Broadway.
No, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, yeah.
And he's got a way better career and is legendary.
Making lots of money.
Making tons of money, but it's a different skill set. It's not about just being able to play what's on paper. It's having develop your ears and non-verbal communication on stage and identifying intervals and stuff like that, and being able to catch screw-ups when someone just takes a bar too far or like a phrase too far, keep going. So just saying, oh, this is where the song ends, so I'm just going to let you keep on doing your thing, but I'm going to stop playing. I've known tons of guys like that who, like, sight unseen, I would trust them to go play a stadium show, no rehearsal. They will learn every part like the record. But then there's been times I've played with them downtown, and we'll play a song, and somebody will look back, and like the guitar player's still going on a solo section when it was supposed to stop 4 bars ago, and all of a sudden they just Ricky Bobby. Like, they don't know what to do because the plan changed.
Well, what would you say that particular skill is besides listening?
Watching, for sure. I mean, I've talked about it on... I use it as an example pretty frequently. I talked about it on another podcast I did a while back. There's one song in particular, Suds in the Bucket. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's like late 90s country tune. The solo form goes for a full 16 bars. Almost every female singer I know downtown does it wrong.
How so?
They'll cut it off at like 12 and go back into the chorus. So if I haven't played with a person before and that song gets called, I'll look at her at like bar 10, and if I see her inch up towards the mic and take a breath, I'm like, okay, we're going to the chorus here.
And are you trying to cue the other musicians on stage for that, or are you just hoping everybody notices that as well?
Everybody should be paying attention.
Yeah, okay.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves as a drummer who doesn't look up. I can't stand it. If you're not watching everybody on stage, you're doing everybody a disservice. I'm constantly at a slight angle all night long because I want to have everybody in my field of view.
Because you want to be facing the drummer a little bit. You want to see the guitarist. You want to see the audience, and you want to see the singer.
Yeah, and it's not like blatantly obvious. I'm not like turned like this, but I'll have like a glance at everybody constantly. Nobody falls out of my field of view for longer than a few seconds.
You really do approach it like you're a Marine. Like there's a battle plan. Like that's your battlefield.
I mean, I don't even think of it that way, but I suppose it's probably like some of that is bled over. But
Yeah.
I've just seen so many bands where like someone's, trying to throw a number or throw a cue or like a hard stop or something, and someone isn't looking. And then you just have to keep on rolling, and that's not what you're supposed to do.
What are for sure ways to not get a call back, even if you're a good player and you're a decent hang?
I mean, because honestly, those are the two biggest things that are going to keep your gig. But oddly enough, if you're unavailable all the time, people will stop calling you. And it's not because they don't like you. They're like, oh, we need somebody for this weekend, but they're probably busy. Don't even bother. That happens a lot. And I will say, oddly enough, not looking the part.
Okay. So dressing like you're a musician.
Not even that. It's kind of like just knowing what band you're playing with. Like on my Saturday gig with Monty, I mean, she's like in platform shoes and like spikes. It's a heavy rock gig. I'm not gonna dress the way I would there that I would on like my morning gig where I'm doing 60s country, and vice versa. I also, like a big example, there was this band I was hired for called the Untamed, and we did a handful of shows at Brooklyn Bowl and stuff like that. And they're very like, think Jefferson Airplane meets Janis Joplin, all original stuff. And
60s kind of rock feel.
very 60s rock
Hippie-ish.
feel. Hippie-ish, Paisley, bell bottoms, long hair, mutton chops, and they were all actual band members. I was just the hired gun. So I showed up dressed like them with, a 60s hollow body bass. Because for everybody in the crowd, they don't want to see that, that one bass player is like, oh, he clearly just works here.
Dressed like I am right now.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't want to look like you work there.
Yeah.
You want to look like you're part of the group.
Okay.
Even if you're not.
That's fair. It is showbiz after all.
It is. And downtown's different. I mean, everybody dressed pretty casually downtown. But, I mean, you walk into Robert's Western World where they're playing 1920s swing. And it's like, I want to see the guy with a bolo tie and the hat. That's a spectacle there.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, too, the different bars down there, and please correct me if I'm wrong, they all kind of have a different vibe a little bit.
They do.
Like Bon Jovi's, of course, that's more of a rock vibe. Kid Rock's is more of a rock vibe. But if you're playing at Tootsie's or you're playing at Robert's, for instance, maybe that's a time that you want to dress a little more country. Or if you're playing at Old Red, maybe you do break out the Carhartt for that gig.
So, yeah, something. And that goes so much further than beyond Broadway, too. I think even especially on road gigs, really looking the part. Lemmy said it best where, this is not word for word, but he said, people don't want to see a human on stage. They want to see a being from another planet. And I think Lemmy was the prime example of that.
Oh, yeah.
Homeboy was just pure rock and roll.
Yeah. Well, he always wore those, like, garage kind of shirts, with a name tag on it and the cowboy hat. And
yeah.
Yeah.
And just, blacked out everything, 4x15 Marshall cabs.
Yeah. That's something I always feel like I've never really been good at, I dress one way unless I'm like at my day job, because then I'll dress up a little bit and be business casual and all that. But that is definitely something to keep in mind as far as gigs go. You gotta look the role.
Yeah, I mean, and especially looking like you give a shit is a big part of it. If you show up in just like a hoodie and Nikes, that's fine, but you also have to remember where you're at. It's like people are there to see a show.
Yeah, and to see a being from another planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's people that I feel like who do that really well, like Gabby and Isaac from the Weird Sisters.
Oh, yeah, they're great about that.
Yeah, but it matches what it's authentically them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or Aubrey and Kiera from Violent Moons. They have their whole
like Stevie Nicks sort of thing going
Yeah,
on.
they have their vibe going. And I think for myself, I've always had a 90s slacker like film aesthetic. That's always kind of been my style, but it doesn't fit every gig, you know?
And like also me saying this, I'm not great about it. Like I put like a certain amount of effort into how I look when I go to a gig downtown. Road's different, but also I understand that I'm a bass player and nobody's looking at me.
Totally.
So like, I'm not up there trying. I'm just up there to play songs, dog. Like I'm not trying to get anybody to look at me. It's not my show at the end of the day either. I just work there.
Yeah. Well, it's the hired gun sideman mentality.
Yeah.
I'm here for a role. I'm here to do this thing.
And some people don't understand when to not do that. I played this gig at 1230 Club. It was like a trio acoustic gig. And this girl I was playing for doing tons of like Dixie Chicks and Taylor Swift songs. And it's, you know, afternoon brunch crowd. It's 1230 Club. It's super laid back. And this guitar player is trying to do like Michelangelo Badio solos and play behind his head. I'm like, dog, what are you doing?
That's Kid Rock's main stage, 6 till 10, 10 till 2. Right?
And even then, it's just like you're overplaying. You're completely stepping on this singer when she's trying to perform. It's like our job is to make her sound good. No one's here to see you.
Interesting. Well, is that someone like that? Are they newer to town? Are they younger? Like when you encounter something like that?
I only played with them that one time. A lot of times it's somebody who's newer, or sometimes it's somebody who's just really not self-aware. I know a lot of really good players who they know the songs, they look the part, but they don't get called back because they continuously overplay and step on singers.
You can't step on the singer.
And it's not even a attention thing. It's just like you're drawing back from like there's supposed to be this vocal part here that's supposed to be, you know, highlighted. But if you're playing all this stuff,
you're fucking it up.
You're completely fucking it up. And also another thing I've noticed is I'm pretty Pavlovian when it comes to songs, in the sense of like you play it so many times a certain way, whether that's the right way or the wrong way.
Or the Broadway.
Or the Broadway. Like, people will have their own arrangements, or a drummer will be playing a drastically different beat than... I mean, there's a difference between playing some variation to the record and completely playing something different. I'll get lost, because in my head, I'm not hearing the same song.
What are, like, songs that are commonly changed that people really do their own style on? Is there, like, one that you can always point to?
Every Dolly Parton song ever.
Really?
They're the most standard, non-standard songs ever.
How so?
Form-wise. So there is no solo in Jolene, but almost every band downtown will play it and then add a 2/4 bar on the turn for some reason. I don't know when or where this started. Some bands do that, some bands don't. Another example is 9 to 5. It's a double chorus every time. Some people will end it with a triple chorus and then do 3 hits on the end. Some people have different variations. Well, they might put a solo before that and then just do a double chorus. I don't know where any of that comes from. It's more typical on any songs that have fade outs on the record.
Interesting. Where there's no universal ending that everybody can point to.
People have just kind of come up with their own endings that some of them have stuck, some of them haven't. That's very, very common.
I know another song that I've played a little bit that everybody always kind of does it different is Blister in the Sun.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bar of 2/4, and most bands don't do the bar.
Don't play it.
Yeah. They do 4/4.
Yep.
Do you know the part I'm talking about?
Exactly what you're talking about.
So it's just like, I feel like something like that you only learn through experience over time. And you don't necessarily know until you get there, so to speak.
Correct.
And is something like that, is that just skinning your knee enough times and learning from it that way? Or is it like, now as an experienced player, do you speak up on stage and say, hey, are we playing the bar of 2/4?
Always.
Okay.
But like, especially if it's a group that I haven't played with before, I always ask if the song gets called, I'll be like, hey, in this section are we going to do this or not? And I know how to do it either way, so I just want to know to be prepared for. I also really like when singers can effectively communicate some form of music theory. Not that I have to be all the time or need to be at all, but it does make the job easier. There was one time I was playing with this guy who wanted to play Times Like These by Foo Fighters. And he goes, we play in the same record as a key, but we don't do the weird timey thingy. And like, I'm starting to have my eyes roll back at that moment. I'm like, you mean you're playing it in 4, not in 7? He goes, sure, whatever that means. I was like, okay, that's how tonight's gonna go.
Yeah. So what do you do in that moment? Are you just, I'm just going with what I'm paid to do right now?
Yep.
Yeah. Because that's all you can do.
That's all you can do. And I was in Seattle a couple years back, and this guy had hired me for a gig, and I kind of should have known better. Because like my family's up in Washington, so that's why I took it. I was like, well, it's a paid vacation, go get to see family and everything like that. Kind of should have known that he wasn't a super serious musician, because he like ran his own company, and it was like very high dollar security.
So this was like his hobby thing.
It was more of a hobby. So sends me a ton of originals, go and learn everything. Spent a lot of time on it, and then the guitar player picks me up at the airport, and the first thing he says to me is, by the way, all the songs he sent you, forget everything you learned, he plays everything wrong. I was like, cool, love that. It's like, I could have just showed up and not even listened to anything, because like that whole gig, I read his hands and used my ears.
Damn.
Went fine.
Yeah.
I had no problem with it, but it was just like...
But that's a skill in itself.
Oh, yeah. Like, I always encourage bass players to learn how to read hands.
So break it down for the people who are listening who might not know what that means. What does reading hands mean?
So it's like being able to look at a guitar player's hands and see what chord he's on. And there's also, once you get really good at it, you can start to see like their hands loosen up just a little bit right before they go into a next chord change. It's just like,
it's sign language.
Yeah, it's like milliseconds, but you can physically watch their hand get ready to change to a new position. So then you're just like, okay, I'm on this chord, and they're about to change, and here we go.
You know a change is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a gig like that, do you feel like you're fighting for your life every step of the way, or is it...
If you're not good at it, you're fighting for your life.
Yeah.
After you've, like, if you have enough understanding of a guitar fretboard and chord shapes, you're not fighting for your life, but you're also not having any fun. Because instead of just playing the songs and maybe engaging with the crowd or, you know, having some fun with the drummer or anybody else on stage, the whole time you're sitting there staring.
Try not to fuck up.
Yeah. It's like, this is not a good time. Even if you're doing really well at it, it's not fun.
I feel like that's not a skill that I have greatly down yet. It's a skill I'm going to acquire. But, yeah, there's just so many things I feel like down on Broadway where you really have to become a great... It's all of the in-between things that people don't normally talk about in music. Something like reading hands. You know, someone might hear that. They're going to be like, what the fuck does that mean? Or even if people are throwing up numbers.
Throwing numbers?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all those skills are not... They're not skills you're going to learn in any music school. Because music school is going to be like, this is theory, this is how things work, and here's how they're applied.
This is how it's supposed to be.
This is how it's supposed to be. everything downtown is like, here's all the tools you need when this portion that you learn in school is not working. And I also know tons of musicians who don't know a lick of theory, which is fine. And a lot of them are incredible.
Yeah, totally.
Because, like, as for myself, I was raised in, like, a jazz background playing in school. It was sight reading music, learning changes. Like, you could put something in front of me and I could read it. But as far as my actual abilities as a musician, completely different. I was a really good bass player, not a great musician.
What do you mean by that exactly?
So, again, like, you could put something in front of me and I could read it note for note.
You could sight read.
I could sight read, and I could tell you, oh, this is the chord that we're going to next, and this is the way that you build this chord, without any understanding of the way those notes work together. And then even now, you see it a lot with, like, this generation of Instagram guitarists. They can learn a piece of music. When it comes time for them to improvise and be like, oh, well, we're going to, let you solo over this song, they don't know how to do it. They don't know their neck. They don't know the relations of the chords and the scales and how they interact together. They know how to learn and write a piece of music.
For a 1 minute or 30-second
clip. Yep.
Have you encountered that at all down on Broadway, where it's like someone who has a big following maybe on TikTok or online, and then they come down and they really get their ass handed to them?
I have.
Yeah.
I won't name any names, but
sure.
There was one guy who moved here, and he got in touch with me before he left LA, and he was like, hey, so-and-so says I should talk to you. And so I took him out to coffee and just told him my story of just getting, my ass handed to me when I first moved to town. And, like, here's the steps along the way. This is what you need to do. So don't take any high visibility gigs for the next little while. Just, go play those shitty honky-tonk gigs in the morning.
Second floor, third floor.
No one's there. Go get your feet wet, figure out what you're getting into. And Duke could play. But his repertoire, like, he just didn't have the repertoire yet, which is what you need to have.
As in knowing Sweet Home Alabama and knowing all the different Broadway standards that there are.
Yeah, which Broadway standard is a null word at this point because it is a free-for-all down there now. Like, I play with one band, we will do Korn and then Pink Pony Club and 90s hip-hop and Disturbed, and then I'll play with, like, classic country bands and pop bands and everything in between. It's not like it used to be 10 years ago where it was the same, 100, 200 songs everywhere you went. So you have to have a much bigger repertoire now. But yeah, this kid didn't want to take my advice, and then a couple weeks later, I see him posting that he's, at the stage from Maine, and it was in my head first because I knew who he was playing with. And I was like, I kind of want to text this girl and be like, hey, you hired so-and-so. I would probably call somebody else, but I was like, you know what? He didn't want to listen. He's going to have to learn this the hard way. Because clearly that was the only way that he was going to actually take it seriously. Got sent home within 45 minutes. Like,
I would want to kill myself if that happened.
And he didn't stay here. He left town.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, well, again, it's like you see someone come into town and they might have a talent or a little bit of following, and they come in on that blaze of glory, and it's really that first bump in the road. How do you handle it?
Yeah. I mean, it's like either you're going to eat some crow and bounce back from it and learn, or you're going to be stubborn and you won't. It's really all about how badly you want it. I tell people all the time because they're like, oh, well, like, you work really hard. I'm like, yeah, I worked really hard, but also, like, at the time, I just lost my house in a tornado, was homeless, got laid off because it was COVID. Like, I didn't just practice because I wanted to. It was I had to do it to eat. Like that. There was really no other option there. Like,
sure. It was purely survival.
It was purely survival. It was like, I have to do this, otherwise I don't get to eat food.
Yeah, and I think there is something romantic to a certain degree about Broadway.
Sure, yeah.
But, I mean, just from talking to the folks I know who play down there, it's some nights you don't want to be there and you're just playing the same fucking songs over and over again, like a human jukebox or a stripper with a guitar, as Josh Norfleet refers to it as.
Yeah.
And then other nights the crowd is into it and they're like, yeah, they're really into this Tom Petty song, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you have to be able to take the bad with the good.
You do. There's always going to be bad nights, and find a way to find good in it. Like, the way I see it, it's 4 hours of paid practice every shift. I'm playing with my friends, probably making a decent chunk of change. I could be doing something way worse. And even when it's songs that you've played a million times that you're tired of, like Tennessee Whiskey will get old, but I can't tell you every time there's some old couple on vacation and you might be tired of the song, but they're out there slow dancing to it. It's their anniversary and they think it's the greatest night of their life. Enjoy that. That's great. Find something good in that. I mean, it's not hard. Just don't be pessimistic.
Well, so tell me a little bit about when you encounter someone who is pessimistic about it and they don't want to have a good time and they don't try and find the good in it. What is it like to play a gig with someone like that?
That goes back to the good hang thing. If they're not having fun, if they're miserable on stage all the time, not going to be a fun person to work for or with. And the crowd can pick up when the band doesn't want to be there either.
Yeah.
They want you to have fun with them.
Well, it goes back to what Lemmy said. They want to see a being from another planet.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'll always, especially on my Saturday gig at Friends Low Places, like, there'll be like a group of bachelorettes up the front, like wearing some giant sunglasses or whatever. It's like, I'll just go snatch them off their face and put them on, and they think it's hilarious. And now they're having a good time. We're having a good time. It's fun.
Well, talk a little bit about that audience interaction piece, because for those that don't know, a big part of how Nashville happens or how musicians make their money is the tip bucket.
Yep.
What do you do in addition to stuff like that? Like, what are some things that you can do to really get that tip bucket popping?
I mean, so every club has a different set of rules. Some places you are expected to run the jug consistently. Other places you're not allowed to. And they compensate by paying you a lot more.
In your base.
Yeah. So a lot of places like that, like for instance, a lot of the TC circuit, mainly because they are more than just a bar, they're also like kind of restaurants.
So it's hospitality a little bit.
Yeah, they actually have really great food at all the TC clubs, but it's like, and rightfully so, I don't want to go sit down and have a meal with my friends and family and have some band member coming up to me as I'm eating.
Hustling you for money.
And it's like, no, leave them alone.
Yeah.
And that's still my rule. Like, even if it's a place that does allow to run the jug, because on my Tuesday gig, the singer usually halfway through the shift will give us a break for like 3 or 4 songs, and me and Keith will split the room and go run a jug. If I see a group that just sat down and they're eating, I leave them alone. But if it's people shooting the shit, having drinks with their friends, or they're just sitting at the bar, I'll go talk to them. But I just know how I would want to be treated when I go out, and that's not it.
Well, there's a certain level of social intelligence and self-awareness I feel like you have to have too. Like, you're someone with social intelligence and self-awareness, but musicians are a unique and interesting bunch because they want to live life in the clouds and they want to live life their way.
Yeah.
So they might not necessarily pick up on those social cues because they're like, I'm really fucking good. These people want to talk to me even if they don't know it yet.
Yeah. And there's, going back to what you were saying about how to get people to tip, there's ways and there's certain tips and tricks. One of them is like selling Devil Went Down to Georgia. That's typically a $100 song anywhere you go downtown. So like with a lot of bands I play with, we'll just play the intro and then stop. And so like the whole crowd gets excited and they're like, oh, like what? Like we thought this was happening, and then we give them the spiel about, oh, it's $100, but you can crowdfund it, and usually it just takes one person,
and then the domino starts to fall.
Yeah. So like, even if I'm passing through, like I stopped in a place the other night. I can't remember what I was doing. I might have just been out with some friends after work. Same thing. The band they were advertising that song, and nobody was biting. So I just went up and dropped a 20 in the jug. And then after that, that's all it took. And the guitar player immediately texted me. He was like, "Thanks for doing that because that got the ball rolling." I was like, I knew it would. It always just takes one person.
Well, that's almost a street level salesman, New York.
Yeah.
You're opening the trench coat and it's lined with fake Rolexes.
Yeah. Another thing that me and Jacob do is I've been doing this with him for years now. There's a song "Sold" by John Michael Montgomery. It's a really quick song, but we tell the crowd before we start, they're like, "Hey, for every dollar you throw at us, we'll keep on going faster. We'll make $300 in like 90 seconds."
Interesting.
Yeah. There's ways to get money out of people without just being like, "Hey, give me money."
Yeah, you got to make it a game.
Yeah.
Make it fun.
I've seen other bands, like Old Red, there's the mezzanine up there.
Yeah.
Some bands I played with, the tip bucket will be on the stage and they'll say, "Hey, if anybody can make $1 into the tip jug, we'll buy you beer on our tab." And then you have 30 people all trying to throw dollars into the tip jug.
Yeah.
So there's ways to do it.
Interesting. Is Pink Pony Club, is that a $100 song yet?
It's not. I have a feeling it will be at some point.
Does it get requested that much down there now?
Constantly.
How many times do you play it? Average 4-hour shift.
It depends on the band.
Depends on the crowd too, I imagine.
Depends on the crowd. Like if you see a group of early 20-year-old girls, it's going to get requested. And sometimes songs like that, it's almost worth it to just go ahead and play it and not even ask for money. Because in my experience, people will walk by a room that even if the band is killing it, if it's not hype in there, they don't even want to go in. So if you can hype up the crowd and then people are walking by and it's like, "Oh, this place is going off," then people start coming in.
So like Pink Pony Club, I imagine that's a hype up song.
Yeah, it is a hype up song. It'll do the job.
What are some other hype up songs?
I mean, there's so many. We always do on Sundays, "Lose Yourself" by Eminem.
Yeah.
That gets people going. Like a lot of Britney Spears. And like right now, the name of the game as far as what gets people engaged is like mid-90s to 2000s pop. You have to think about like the changing demographic. So you go out on a weekend. Right now, all the people who are on vacation are people who are our age who now have a little bit of money. So that's who you have to appeal to. It's a game. It really is. I could go anywhere, and if I played songs that I like to hear, I'm not going to make any money. You have to think about who you're playing to.
Totally.
And being aware of who's in town during the week. Like AC/DC was in town last night, so naturally it's like
it's going to be a hard rock gig.
Whip out the classic rock, and it's going to be a lot of people probably in their 50s and 60s who are in town. And on the other side of that, knowing when to say no to requests, even when somebody's offering you money. There was one night where Paramore was in town. We were at Whiskey Row, and so it was all the emo kids. We were doing nothing but 2000s pop punk stuff.
Blink-182, Green Day.
Yeah, all that stuff. And this guy walks up to me with a 50, older guy, and he's like, "Will you play That Ain't My Truck?" I'm like, "Sir, I know it, but we're not going to play that song."
This ain't the crowd, because you're going to clear out the entire bar.
Yeah, that $50 that you would have made right then and there is not for the 200 or 300 more you could have made if you just keep people there.
Interesting.
So knowing when to say no when a request is going to kill the room.
Reading the room.
Yeah. Some people are bad about that. There was one guy I had to stop playing for regularly because he was a phenomenal musician.
Didn't know how to read the room?
Knew how to read the room but didn't care. Wanted to play B-side deep cuts that he liked.
That's not what the gig is down on Broadway, though.
It's like, do that in your own time. Did I love the songs? Yeah. But if I'm going to have to do all this homework and learn all this material just to go downtown and leave a pocket change, that's not worth it to me.
Yeah, well, it's for me, I have my own band going now, Canada Duck Feet, and we played our first gig probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But we were playing stuff like All Blues by Miles Davis. I had a horn player, and I basically wanted to do something that I'm not going to get to do on any other gig.
100%.
And I'm paying these people to play with me. You know, it was all pickup players. And the gig went great. We filmed the whole thing. Like, I'll eventually release it.
Yeah, you sent me a video of it.
Yeah, yeah. And I was super happy with the way that everything turned out. But I know in context there's many different versions in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Broadway is, you are the stripper. You are the entertainment.
Yeah.
This is the Mickey Mouse version of Nashville. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not.
And I think there's many musicians that, like, when I first moved to town, it's not like this so much anymore. But when I first moved to town, I remember there was kind of this thing between East Nashville musicians and Broadway musicians. Like the people who play the original music versus the people who, even though they might play original music, are down on Broadway playing and making their money that way.
Yeah.
And now I feel like it's opened up a little bit more because there's a lot of great East Nashville rock bands that have jumped the river, so to speak, and they started playing downtown to fund their albums and do that whole thing.
I think that's the way to do it, man.
Yeah.
Like this band, True Villains. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah, yeah. Bo's been on the podcast before.
Yeah. Like, Bo and his band, like, they play Broadway all the time. So it's like, dude, why would you go pay for a rehearsal spot when you could just do it at work and everybody gets paid to do it, and then you're actually rehearsing in front of a crowd? Like, that makes the most sense to me.
Well, there's also, I think, a utility that you can take, because is it a, 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. gig on a second floor somewhere? You probably have a little bit more creative freedom on that gig versus Honky Tonk Central main stage Friday night, 10 p.m. till 2 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm a big proponent of, when I'm downtown, I'm there to work. And then if I feel like I'm musically, like, completely unsatisfied, it's like that's where your passion projects come into play. And, like, finding people that you enjoy playing with, making music that you're really passionate about, even if you're not getting paid for it at the moment.
Well, it goes back to the 2 out of 3 thing.
Yeah. I mean, because at the end of the day, none of us became musicians to just play downtown.
Sure.
Or even just play other people's songs in general. It's like we got into it to be creative. It's an art form. That's why everybody started to begin with. And it's important to not ever lose sight of that.
How do you maintain yourself mentally?
I don't. Let's be completely real.
Okay.
I do not.
I appreciate the vulnerability and the honesty.
Oh, yeah. Mentally, I'm in rough shape.
Yeah. Well, at least on the surface, you at least present as someone who has a very healthy mentality about where you are and a self-awareness about where you are. And I feel like that comes from you've put in the work. You're undeniable. And I feel like the path to being undeniable, it's very difficult to stay the course because you always have these points where you could just tap out and quit. There's plenty of times.
Yeah.
Where I'm sure you didn't feel like going on a gig, or you felt like I really can't take this gig. But there's a quiet confidence to you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now, I think a lot of it is just, like, keeping my brain in check is one thing. I've kind of found that everybody, I mean, not to get too personal, but everybody's like, oh, you work so much. Like, do you keep that all in check? I'm like, no, it's I work because if I'm busy, then my brain can't go sideways.
I deeply fucking relate to that.
Yeah, so I really could give a shit about the money. It's more about just like keeping this,
staying mentally healthy,
keeping this piece of shit in check. Yeah, I mean that's definitely something I'm working on for sure. And then yeah, getting out of the grind is super, super healthy and has not been something I've got into until fairly recently, to be honest with you. And I'm sure I've had this conversation with another musician friend of mine, is like, I think we all go through a period of time where we stop thinking of ourselves as a person and start thinking of ourselves as a thing.
How so?
Like, for a hot minute, man, I was just like, just working constantly. I was sleeping in my car every Sunday night because I would close on Sundays, open, and play 6 to 10 on Mondays. Mm-hmm. And I genuinely just like lost sight of what it was to be a human being. Because like in my head, I was like, I'm a tool for playing songs. And it wasn't until like one of my best friends recently. It was kind of funny how we met, because she was a bartender friend of mine downtown. And then one day at work, she was just talking about like, she was kind of irritable and talking about food and like this and that and third. I'm like, and at this point, we're not like really close. We're just like kind of like work homies. I'm like, Taylor, you're pregnant, aren't you? She's like, don't tell anybody.
Damn.
And then at one point, she was like getting morning sickness and she was complaining. She was like, every time I try and cook something, I get sick. I was like, well, just tell me what you want and I'll come over once a week and we'll just cook food and hang out. And then so like her and I became super good friends, and she's got a 7-week-old baby now who I'm like, oh, like this is like a living, breathing person that I get to hang out with. And
it's wild, dude.
So like I went from just like having work be my whole life to now I've got friends who I spend time with, and it's like even a lot of I would go months without seeing my friends all the time. So like I'm trying to really work back that balance of just not being a bass player. I'm a human being as well.
Yeah, I can really relate to that, because I think I had a phase where I was pretty much freeballing. I was gigging. I was doing the podcast. I was driving for Uber. And unless I was doing one of those things or making money, I would start to feel guilty.
Guilty, anxious.
Yeah.
Couldn't even enjoy your time off because, I mean,
I should be doing something else right now.
Dude, that's what I used to do is if I did have a day off, I would kind of be like at home, chilling, have a cup of coffee, probably enjoy it for about an hour, and the next thing I notice, I'm like going through all my text messages, all my emails, and I'm like, what am I forgetting? Where am I supposed to be this afternoon? It's like I couldn't even enjoy my downtime.
So what contributed to that shift? It was seeing your friend get pregnant and have a baby and like a new life come into this world, or?
Well, yeah, like especially because like in my head, I mean, unfortunately, Dad's like kind of in the picture, not really. But like she was here by herself. I mean, luckily her mom's moving here next month, but we were also neighbors. So I was like, in my head, it's like if I got a homie who probably needs a hand, I'm going to give him a hand.
Totally.
And it just turned into something like really cool.
Well, you're quite the chef as well. You post a bunch of great pictures online of all the food that you make.
Those are my thirst traps, man.
You know what? That is fucking hilarious, actually. Yeah. Like you post pictures of steak, or you'll post pictures of some curry dish that you made. And they always look very beautiful and like well curated.
Well, that's half the fun right there. I mean, that's my biggest hobby outside of music is cooking for sure. And I've been getting back into painting again too. I used to be my main goal as a kid is I was actually wanted to be an artist for Marvel.
Really? Okay, yeah. So you're a big comic book nerd?
Oh, I'm a massive comic book nerd.
Are you? So you're Marvel versus DC? Like,
I think as a whole, I'm kind of split. So Marvel, I think as a whole is my favorite as a collective. DC, undeniably, I think that the Joker is the best villain ever written.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But Spawn from Image is my favorite comic book character.
Spawn's badass.
Yeah.
What do you think of the new Superman movie coming out?
I'm very curious. I really like James Gunn. I really think Man of Steel was where Superman peaked.
You're a Zack Snyder fan?
I'm a Zack Snyder fan.
Hell yeah. I loved Ben Affleck as Batman, by the way.
He's been my favorite. I was actually, oddly enough, I was having this thought last night because he's been consistent. Well, I shouldn't say consistently because he only did a couple movies, but I've had my favorite Batman and I've had my favorite Bruce Waynes, but he does both so well because everybody forgets that, like, they're really two different characters.
Yes.
I mean, the actor's not supposed to have the same persona both ways, and some actors have. Because, I mean, even with Christian Bale, as much as I love Christian Bale, he had the whole Playboy thing going on, but he was really dark and not really sociable. It's like, people forget that Bruce Wayne is the act. Like, that's just to make people feel comfortable and make himself non-assuming so that when he wants to just,
crush someone's larynx.
Yeah. For selling a joint. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's the real Bruce Wayne right there.
What did you think of the Batman? What was your overall opinion of Robert Pattinson as Batman?
Not really sure I cared for Robert Pattinson. I like him as an actor a whole lot. Didn't care for the direction of the character, but I loved the movie.
It was a beautifully shot movie.
It was beautifully shot. It was 100% a crime noir film, which I loved.
Different take on Batman, too.
Different take.
And he was more of a detective in that movie.
Which I thoroughly enjoyed. Can't remember the name of the actor to save my life, but Commissioner Gordon, fantastic. Riddler, creepy as all hell.
Yeah.
Got big, like, Silence of the Lambs vibes from him.
Totally.
And I was like, yeah, that was a work of art right there.
Do you think the Batman 2 is going to happen?
I hope so. Really hope so. The thing that I liked the most about the first one is I felt like I was watching the superhero version of Seven.
Totally.
I don't know if you are familiar.
Yeah,
one
absolutely.
of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah. So you like the darker shit?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm also a big horror movie buff.
Okay. I'm a big horror movie buff as well. Did you see Late Night with the Devil?
Yes.
What were your thoughts?
Loved it.
I loved it too.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Everything about the way it was shot. As a matter of fact, when we walked in here and you showed me the studio, I was like, that's the first thing that popped in my head.
Well, dude,
I'm sure that was the inspiration behind the Halloween special.
It was.
Yep.
Yeah, because I saw that and I was like, this is actually, like, I can do like a comedy fucking version of this. Not exactly that. Mm-hmm. But I remember reading the synopsis online for Late Night with the Devil because there wasn't a trailer, there wasn't any images yet, and I just saw David Dashmalchian, I don't know how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
But he was cast as like a late night host, and it explained what the premise of the movie was, that he was going to be having a parapsychologist on, there was going to be a possession on air. It was also found footage of a late night show. And I was like, this is really fucking original. It was my most hyped movie last year. And I think it got announced back in like 2021 or 2022. It was part of the whole COVID delay shit. So I was waiting, and eventually a trailer didn't get released until like 2 months, maybe 3 months before the movie came out.
Yep.
And I saw that shit in the theaters the night it came out, and it was a packed house.
It was so good. I really think, because I love a lot of vintage horror, and up until like the last 3 to 4 years, horror movies really haven't done it for me. But the last 2 years, like, every horror movie has been coming out swinging, dude.
What are some other movies that you like that have come out?
Companion.
I don't know what that is.
Incredible. Go watch the teaser trailer. Don't watch the full-length trailer that came out after the movie came out. Because way too often I think that movies give away the entire plot in the trailer.
Totally.
But this movie is it's wild. Just don't even watch a trailer. Just go into it dry.
Have you seen the trailer for? I can't remember. Eric, you might have to look this up and tell us what it is.
Pull it up, Jamie.
But it's a horror movie with like Josh Brolin, where he plays a dad. He's like, I don't even think he's the main character, but it's about a bunch of school kids that disappear from this one teacher's class.
No, I'll have to check that out.
Dude, I saw the trailer for that and it looked terrifying. It's the best trailer I've seen in fucking years.
There's so much to be said about a good trailer that like don't give away too much of the movie.
Yeah, well, it lets you kind of know loosely that some kind of event was happening.
I want to be surprised when I watch a movie, especially a horror movie or a thriller.
Well, I'm sorry, what was that, Eric?
Weapons?
Dude, watch the trailer for Weapons.
I'll check that out.
What were you saying?
Oh, it's just like, sometimes with a movie like that, I don't need all this backstory. I just need something crazy to happen with a bunch of people who are trying to figure it out.
Well, in that Late Night with the Devil 2, spoiler alert, the last 10 minutes are just like, it takes an extreme left turn.
Yeah.
To where you don't know what the fuck is going on. Where it's kind of alluded to throughout the movie that this guy might have done some occult ritual shit to get to where he is, and he's getting what he wants, but not in the way that he wanted at all.
And everybody's kind of skeptical about it, but then like things start to happen, and
well, what's real? You know,
yeah.
it plays with that too.
I also just went and saw Sinners.
Dude, I haven't seen that yet, but I heard it's fucking amazing.
It's in my top 5 favorite movies of all time.
Really?
It's that good.
Damn.
It's that good. Not just as like a horror movie, but as a movie in general.
Damn. What's so good about it?
Like it covers so much about history in general of like the Jim Crow South, and also just like the roots of rock and roll. And there's like some surprise cameos toward the end.
Oh shit.
But also it kind of, I'm sure you've seen From Dusk Till Dawn, right?
One of my favorite movies of all time.
It's incredibly similar in structure, whereas like when you first watch From Dusk Till Dawn, especially if you have no idea what you're getting into, you think that this is a crime movie about two brothers.
Well, it's two different movies.
This does the same thing. The first half of the movie is these two brothers who have gotten out of the army. They were living in Chicago, and they decide to move back to their hometown and open a juke joint for like all these people who were enslaved or working on plantations to have a place where they can like have family and camaraderie and perform music. And the struggle of that in the early like 1920s. That's the first movie. And then the second half of the movie is the horror movie.
That's badass.
And it's brutal. It's really good.
Over the top violence.
I don't want to say it's over the top, but it's very effective. It's not over the top in the sense of like it's not campy or cheesy.
Yeah.
Not like Terrifier or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it messes with your head. And
I've heard great things about it. I haven't gone to see it yet, but it is definitely on the list. I like Michael B. Jordan a lot. He's a fucking incredible actor.
Oh, yeah, he was great in this.
I don't know if you saw this, but he's supposed to be, I don't know if they're still going to fucking do it, but he was supposed to be doing a Superman movie.
That's kind of been in the talks left and right for years, and I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
I just don't know, like, I think a lot of people, and tell me what your thoughts are on this, if you're going to have Black Superman, just have him be in the normal universe and have him be Superman.
Yeah, instead of
doing another which I will go see the James Gunn Superman. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'll go see it. But it's like, just have Michael B. Jordan be Superman.
Yeah, I would have no problem with that.
Yeah.
And then you always get people who are like, oh, well, Superman was I'm like, yeah, he's also an alien. Like,
he's an alien.
Who cares?
Well, that's the interesting fucking thing about it. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like there's more context there.
People take fantasy too seriously.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, dude, like you're arguing over stuff that is not even remotely close to real or possible. Just have fun with it.
Yeah. He would be a great Superman.
He would be a great Superman. I mean, going back to like the Marvel versus DC thing, I think that the continuity of that Marvel has had over the last 20-something years is what makes them really shine.
Yeah.
But also, like, sometimes DC will just do a reboot of a character with completely different cast and vision. I'm like, I really like just this as a movie.
Like the first Joker movie.
Yeah.
It's its own thing.
I don't need every superhero movie to intertwine with each other.
Sure.
Sometimes, like, I just need this 2 hours of itself and then not even get a sequel. I just need someone's vision of that. And I just need to love it.
Yeah. Well, the great thing about that Joker movie was it's very influenced by, like, 70s films, you know, like Taxi Driver.
Yeah, there's a huge
It's a unique take on that character.
Yeah. And I think that that's super valuable. And I'm trying to think of some other characters I would love to see just like one standalone movie of.
Yeah. I'd like to see Wesley Snipes come back as Blade. Like he was in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
I saw the first Blade movie way too fucking young.
Same. But I loved it back then.
Yeah. Well, it's all of his great fucking one-liners in that movie. You know, where he's like, some motherfuckers
always trying to ice skate up.
Yes. Yes.
One of the greatest lines of all time.
Yeah. But I think you could do like a Wesley Snipes Blade movie, still have it be in the fucking MCU, or even just do a Wesley Snipes Blade send-off movie the same way that there was that Wolverine, even though he came back for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying, though. Like you could do like Blade Legacy, and that could be Wesley Snipes' final
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. They're talking about, so I guess Guillermo del Toro and Ron Perlman are like officially coming to a deal for Hellboy 3
Interesting.
to cap the whole thing off.
Yeah.
Because, man, I did not. Did you watch?
I didn't watch the David Harbour.
That one was okay.
And there was another one too, right?
Like the Hatted Man or the Crooked Man?
I know that they've released a couple different fucking Hellboy movies where Ron Perlman hasn't been Hellboy.
Yeah, so there's been two.
Yeah.
Hellboy with David Harbour, completely different vision. Actually really liked it. Pretty over the top, but I thought it was still true to the character. And fun.
I like David Harbour. It makes sense to have him as that character too.
The Crooked Man was dog shit.
Really?
Absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't pay me to watch that again. I mean, it went to theaters and everything, and it looked like a sci-fi original movie. Tried to do, like, this weird, like, investigative horror thing with it, where it was almost Hellboy was, like, one of the brothers from Supernatural sort of thing.
Interesting.
It was not good.
It just didn't land.
Didn't land, not shot well. If you want to waste an hour and a half of your life, go watch it, and you will complain the whole time. Maybe just to say you did it, but not good.
I think the new Fantastic Four movie looks pretty good.
It looks really good. I've got some qualms with it.
What are your qualms?
Mainly that Pedro Pascal has a mustache, and I say that as a Pedro Pascal stan. He's
Why don't you like his mustache?
I mean, because that's not Mr. Fantastic.
Well, Mr. Fantastic, was he always clean-shaven?
Always. Well, there was a period of time in like the later comics where he had a full beard, just like John Krasinski did in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, okay.
And also, I love the practical effects for The Thing back in 2004.
Yeah,
I love
with
the
Michael
suit.
Chiklis, right? Yeah.
That suit was awesome.
Michael B. Jordan was in
The reboot.
that Josh Trank did, right? Where, what's his name? The actor from Whiplash.
Yeah.
He was Mr. Fantastic.
And that was horrible.
I never saw it.
Really, really bad. Like, disastrously bad.
Who was the villain in that?
It was Dr. Doom with no suit. It was like part of his body. And it looked really bad. And he was only in like the last 20 minutes of the movie.
What do you think of RDJ playing Dr. Doom?
Not happy about it.
I feel the same way. I feel like it's just a way for them to bring back Iron Man to come and save
I
the
know
day.
that they're gonna, find some weird, multiverse thing of reason this happened. And even if I don't know, I'm curious about it. Am I gonna watch it? Absolutely. But
yeah, I will too.
even though there's several people in talks about being Magneto right now. one of them is Denzel Washington, who I wanted to be Dr. Doom.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like he would be a great Magneto.
I think so too. And what a lot of people fail to realize is that X-Men in general, back in '63, Professor X and Magneto were actually based off of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, I did realize that the whole mutant thing, it was like a
civil rights thing.
Yeah. And I think that's really interesting to take that route. The other person that I saw for rumors of Professor X was the dude. I mean, he was just in the new Captain America movie as a villain, but the dude who plays Gus Fring on Breaking Bad.
Oh,
Gustavo.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Giancarlo Esposito. I saw him for rumors of Professor X, and I feel like that would be a good casting.
I think that's solid. Yeah.
Because he always plays a villain, too.
Yeah. Oh, but
always.
I think he'd be a great Professor Xavier.
Yeah.
I did really enjoy James McAvoy. No one's going to beat Patrick Stewart, though.
Yeah.
Like, I remember even as a kid watching Star Trek with my dad, and then once we found out there was an X-Men movie being made, in my head I was just like, yep, that's who they're going to cast, because nobody else makes sense.
I liked Michael Fassbender as well as Magneto. I thought he was a great Magneto.
I did too, because he was like, that was the brutal, vengeful Magneto.
Yeah.
Like, where he is still like fresh and heated. Like,
there's that undercurrent too. I like that first Class movie, the first one that came out, because I just thought it was interesting. Like, basically, you see the relationship between Professor X and Magneto, and how they're both very similar and they admire each other, and then you slowly start to see where they split off.
Yeah. I mean, even now, like, I can never really think of Magneto as a villain.
Interesting. Why?
I think that he's somebody who has been consistently, like, he's been wronged since day one, and he just has very little faith in humanity left.
Well, his whole backstory is he was in a concentration camp as a kid, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
he's always been an outcast.
It's just like, this is what he's like. Oh, I was different then, different now.
This is what humanity
we've
does.
Seen what they do to everybody who's different.
Yeah.
Like, let's get ahead of it this time.
One rumor that I heard, I don't know if you've heard this rumor yet. You sound like you are as big of a nerd as I am, though. That if the Superman movie does well, the next movie that James Gunn is going to do is a World's Finest movie, a team-up movie between Batman and Superman. How do you think they're going to handle the Batman Part 2? Because I don't see it getting made. If this movie does well, because it keeps getting delayed.
Yeah.
And knowing in the entertainment business, just at the level that we are at in Nashville of what we're doing, I feel like when something keeps getting delayed over and over again, it means it's not happening.
Well, I mean, look what happened to the new Blade.
Yeah.
And plus, if they end up doing that with Superman and World's Finest, it's like that particular Batman, those worlds just don't mesh.
No.
So they're going to have to restructure Batman completely in order to fit with the current Superman.
I think James Gunn in the DCU, he's going to take on a more campy version of Batman. That's my prediction. It's
like a modern Adam West Batman.
I think that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And I told my buddy Zach that like 10 years ago. I was like, eventually they're going to stop doing the dark, gritty Batman. And I like dark, gritty Batman. But I think it's going to go back to being kind of like fun and colorful. And when James Gunn has talked about his vision for Batman, it's that it's going to introduce the whole Bat family. You know, Batgirl, Robin, Nightwing. So I think all these people around him are going to be fun, and he's going to be more of the serious straight man, you know?
Yeah.
Who do you think they should cast as the next Batman, if you had to pick?
Oh, man. There's been so many people who I thought would do well. The one person I've thought about most lately, who I think could do that job well, would be Jensen Ackles.
And he voiced Batman on a cartoon movie that they did that was like an R-rated movie, right?
He was the Red Hood.
The Red Hood, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought he did the voice of
I think
Batman.
actually he might have done two, like one animated as Batman, and then one that was separate where he was the Red Hood.
I think you'd be a good Batman too. The other person that I see people in fan castings is that dude who does Reacher. I don't know what his name is.
Yeah. I forget his name. I could definitely see that.
I feel like Jensen Ackles would be that good, campy Batman, though.
Well, because he's got kind of like the comedic relief to a degree, too.
But he can kind of play it straight.
Yeah. I could definitely see that happening. I think that'd be cool.
I'm interested to see how this Superman movie does and how this Fantastic Four movie does. And if people are at superhero fatigue.
I think people are getting pretty close. I mean, especially like someone as myself, I religiously went to opening nights for comic book movies for decades.
Yeah.
And then the last couple years,
it's fallen off.
It's like, do I really want to go see this one?
Yeah.
Like, I'll just wait till it comes out on Disney Plus or something like that.
I will always look forward to a Spider-Man movie. That's Spider-Man and Batman I will always go see in the theaters. And Superman, too. I saw fucking Man of Steel in IMAX.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great. I'm very curious to see how these movies are going to perform because really it seems like Marvel's really slowing down their release schedule. The other thing that I like that James Gunn is doing, he announced a Swamp Thing movie that James Mangold is doing.
Yep.
Which, yes, that's the kind of shit that I like DC for, is when they don't even have to build it into the bigger universe. I think that's their plan, is to build it into the bigger universe. But I like it when this is just going to be like a straight horror movie, and this is going to be a comic book movie.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I think there needs to be a little bit more of that instead of just this never-ending cycle. Because at some point, they're going to jump the shark.
I feel like RDJ being Doctor Doom might be that moment.
Yeah, which is disappointing because like Secret Wars and Doomsday, those are like iconic moments in comic book history.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to see them screw something that great up.
I'm very curious. Well, I'm excited for whatever they do with Spider-Man because now, I mean, he's allegedly not going to be in Doomsday when they announced the cast. Like Tom Holland wasn't listed in there, but and I guess they're filming in like Italy and Morocco, and Sadie Sink from Stranger Things, the redhead in Stranger Things.
Yeah.
She was cast in this, and the rumor is that she's
Peter's daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah.
That universe's daughter from those two. So I'm curious to see the way that they do it. I will say, Marvel, you will earn my respect and loyalty back if you cast Sydney Sweeney as Black Cat.
Oh my God. I can already see the internet going crazy.
Print the money.
Well, she's already in Madam Web.
I didn't see Madam Web.
Was trash.
I heard it was
trash.
Yeah.
But yeah, she'd be perfect for Black Cat.
Oh yeah.
Maybe a little bit too young though.
She's so hot it doesn't matter though.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Logan, where can people find you at?
Find me on Logan Hatcher Bass on Instagram. I don't do TikTok, do anything like that. But yeah, I post everywhere I'm playing on there, and then I keep up with like gear and stuff like that. Also, if you're another bass player in town, once monthly I host the Nashville Bass Hang, so we all get together.
And that has its own Instagram as well, correct?
It does. That has its own Instagram, which I manage, and it's just a network of players from all different walks of the career. You got studio guys, live touring guys, and then just, people who are down on Broadway. If you own a bass and you just want to come meet some people, and we always bring gear, either that we just want to show off or even sell. If you got stuff that you want to get rid of, but you want to have people try it out. It's just a great time for us because we're always just passing each other. We're never on a gig together.
Because we're bass players.
So that's our time for us to get together and just shoot the shit and hang out.
Is it always at the same spot?
Typically, it's been at Baseline Brewery for the last year or
Appropriately so.
Right. And Janet has been super awesome to us and treated us very well. I'm trying to expand it. That was kind of like the grassroots of it, but I'm really wanting to grow it into what Bass Player Live used to be back in LA. So like we'll still do that once a month, but like once annually, bring in vendors. And like even this last November, Sheldon Dingwall flew down with a bunch of new prototypes and just wanted to pick our brains. So like that's kind of the direction I'm trying to move things in. Fuck
yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Keep on dreaming. See you next week. Hell yeah, man.
That was fun.